On today's Locked On Nationals, we take a look at the red hot Nats. They just finished their first winning month since 2023 it feels like at this point. Well, the Nationals, they've got the Cubs coming to town, and this is going to be a big momentum shift.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals for all your latest Nationals news and notes. Check us out over on Twitter. And of course, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course, the video version over on YouTube. Again, just search Locked On Nationals, and that is where you'll find your daily coverage of the Washington Nationals. And of course, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. And later on in today's show, Ben Strober and I will be discussing this big Cubs series and really this whole show. We're going to be taking a look at a deep dive at this Cubs-Nats series because, in my opinion, this is a big momentum shift for the Washington Nationals. So Ben and I will jump into that, but I am joined by Ben Strober today because, number one, he knows ball. But number two, Ben, got a little bit of an announcement to make.
That's right. Well, I'm here on the Locked On National show, but I'll be on Locked On as well going forward, not just on this show, but as the host of Locked On Wizards, which will start next Monday. I'll be co-hosting it with Abdullah Ayubi, who has been kind of taking over the reins on that show ever since the previous host left. But yeah, going through the process right now, getting everything worked out. Really excited to become the next host of Locked On Wizards. It's going to be an exciting time. Wizards got a young core, much like this Nationals team. And Ryan, you and I, we're kind of in the same boat here. We're trying to see this team, these organizations grow, and we're just trying to be a small part of it. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, it's really exciting, and it's a really exciting announcement for you, Ben, because I mean, I know Ben's been working at 106.7 for the last few months now. He has put in his work. He's done a lot of work at the University of Maryland and their radio network over there. He's called play-by-play for Terps basketball. You've done baseball. You've done it all. So really happy for you, Ben. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be tuned in to Locked On Wizards Monday through Friday. You guys have the NBA draft coming up, so that's going to be a lot of fun to cover. So it's not going to be Cooper Flagg, which I'm sure sucks.
It's not a top 3 pick, which obviously isn't what we wanted, but we're going to see what we can do with that 6th pick and then an 18th pick as well. Yeah, definitely an exciting time with the draft coming up to see where the Wizards go and what direction they take here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And you know what? Like, as you've said, the Nationals, they should be in the back half of this rebuild now. And the Nats are sitting at 28-31 on the season here, Ben. So let's jump into them here because, you'll be talking about the Wizards starting on Monday. Let's talk about some Nats here, man, because I know you're a Nats fan. But, Ben, 14-12 in May. The Nationals, I look back at this past month and I think to myself, I'm like, well, last week, Ken Rosenthal came out, slammed the Washington Nationals. I think some of it is deserved, which we have covered. I also think the timing of it was weird in general. But then you look at the record and you're like, this team was 14-12. They beat teams like the Mariners, good ball club, Diamondbacks, pretty solid team. They've beaten teams like the Dodgers in a series earlier on this year. The Nationals have kind of crept up, and in some cases, people are talking about them being a wild card contender. Well, I'm not really trying to get into that at this point here. What I will say is this Cubs series, Ben, this is the momentum shift that I think the Nationals have been waiting for through this rebuild. It feels as if as we get closer to this Cubs series, which first pitch is less than 12 hours away from now at this point, I feel as if that this series is going to kind of dictate how things go for the rest of the season. And this was kind of just crossing my mind as of recent. Like, You've beaten up on all of these different teams. In the Nationals, they've gotten beaten up a fair amount also. But they should be contending. And the way that the Nationals have been recently with Robert Hassel III, Dalen Lyle coming up, you've got Dylan Cruz coming off the IL, hopefully in the next few weeks here. This feels as if it is a huge momentum swinger for the Washington Nationals ball club in this rebuild, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you get an opportunity to play the second best team in the National League, you can really use it as the way Grand Danny put it yesterday, as a litmus test to see really where this Nationals team is. And they've beaten some good teams along the way. Arizona has fallen off a little bit in recent weeks, but definitely the series win over Seattle, that is a very formidable opponent leading the AL West right now. The Chicago Cubs, man, if there is a team that's hotter than the Nationals right now, which there haven't been many over the last 2 weeks, it's the Chicago Cubs. They've won 8 of their last 10 games, and the run differential at almost 100 right now in the season. They score runs like nobody else in the National League, really in baseball. It's going to be really interesting to see how the Nationals rotation. You're going to have 2 of your top 3 guys going in the series other than Williams tonight. You do get Gore tomorrow and then Irvin to follow. So if you're the Nationals, you feel like you are set up in at least 2 of these games to have 2 of your top pitchers going. And the way the bats swung, other than Sunday, which, was a day where it was bound to happen. The Nationals bats were finally bound to cool off there after scoring. Let me do my math here. 38 runs over 4 games, which is just an insane run for this team that we haven't really seen in quite some time, that kind of offensive production. So they do cool off the other night, but they weren't that bad hitting on Sunday, I'd say. I just think they didn't really come through with runners on base. I think they left 10 or so guys on base, which was the problem in that game. And then Mitchell Parker had a pretty rough first inning, which has been his problem really the entire year. But he's kind of not really in the equation. He's not set to get the ball in this series. But I just really think it's a great opportunity to get to play a team like Chicago that has been one of the better teams in baseball this year, because the Nats with so much young talent, this is an opportunity to get that fully on display. I think there's a lot of eyes on the Cubs right now and how good they've been. They've had a lot of talent that has come up through the ranks. P. Crow Armstrong has been one of the more talked about players in baseball this year. So to see him and James Wood on the same diamond this week in D.C. is really exciting. But this is a big opportunity. If the Nationals can win this series or take 2 of 3, as I mentioned just a second ago, I think it leaves you with the question where maybe this Nationals team is legit. If they can keep this pace up that they did through the month of May, they can be competing for a wild card spot as they roll through the summer.
Yeah, I think that right now, like, you kind of nailed it there. I didn't want to take it all too far and say that, like, if the Nationals win this series, let's start talking playoffs. But seriously, if the Nationals do win this series against the Cubs, then it's not just going to be about like a joking, like, oh, could the Nats make the playoffs? Could they make a postseason push? Like, no, this could be for real. And that's what it kind of feels like. It feels like the last few years here, you go into these series against very good teams, whether you're playing the Phillies or the Braves. And in like 2023 and 2024, you feel as if like, okay, like it'd be nice to win these series. Mm-hmm. But now I'm starting to have that feeling the same way I did in the summer of 2019, where I'm like, if the Nationals make a run here, and if the Nationals can continue to stay hot, like the rebuild might be over. We might be done talking about if this prospect comes up at this time, that's when the Nationals will be fun to watch. If we have Robert Hassel III get healthy and have him play every single day, this is when things start to take off. And these things have now come. Robert Hassel III is now here. He's making an impact. He's playing great defensively in center field. He's been really hot at the plate as of recent. And the Nationals, they've been pitching their butt off overall. The time seems like it's now. And I think this is kind of like the awakening that we had to see as Nationals fans, because again, it's been a long rebuild. People have been frustrated. I mean, Ben, you're on the internet, you have Twitter, you're on the same Nats accounts, and you see them and what people say over and over and over again. This fan base has been duped. They believed going into this season that they would have a chance to contend after the first month of April. We weren't talking about them contending. We were talking about them and having another really long season and wondering if they can even get to the 71 win mark again. And now coming off a winning May, you're starting to believe in these things. The bullpen is making an improvement. The offense has been hot. As you said, 38 runs over their past couple of games. Like, things are starting to click. And you also still have Brady House coming up relatively shortly. Like, you've got some possibilities here, and it's now all starting to make sense. This is the time right now for Nationals fans. Like, the time to be optimistic is heading into tonight against this Cubs team, because again, as you were mentioning, this Cubs team is really good. They went through a little bit of a shorter rebuild, kind of similar to what the Nationals did, and they really rebooted their farm system. They've made some really savvy trades with Kyle Tucker, who's playing at an MVP level right now for them, and Pete Crow Armstrong, a guy that you mentioned, who was actually a New York Met, traded over to the Chicago Cubs. He gets completely broken out for them. He's got massive power. He can run the bases. And he's one of, if not the best defensive center fielder in all of baseball at this point. So right now it feels as if that this Nats team, they could be a contender. But Ben, I want to ask you, are the Nationals a pretender or a contender? And we'll get into that after we tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at Supply House. And of course, guys, I have told you all about Supply House in the past, and you need to get the supplies that you need from the site made for the skilled trades at Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Let's be honest, I'm a caveman. I don't know how to do these things. I don't know how to do fixes, but when I have a rental apartment, things are going to break, and I go to supplyhouse.com. They give me all the information for what I need to fix that exact part, whether it's a leaky pipe or maybe it's just a wire that needs to be reconnected. You never know what it is if you have a rental property or if you own your own home. Supply House, they make a dummy like me smart, and I can do these things all myself because it all is right there at supplyhouse.com. So join the Trade Master program today. That's supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That is supplyhouse.com. Now we jump back into it with my guy, Ben Strober. Ben, new host of Locked On Wizards. You'll have a lot to cover with the Wizards over the next few days here. But with that in mind now, we got to get into the question I just posed for you. I think the Nationals, like again, this series feels as if it's going to decide if the Nationals are a contender or a pretender. And maybe that's not fair. But I do think it is, because the rebuild should be over by now. Mike Rizzo, Davey Martinez, everyone said this is the year we are contending. It is time to win. It's no more rebuild. It's no more take your hits and do whatever you want with them. The time feels like it is now. So right now, Ben, are the Nationals going to be a pretender or a contender when this series is all wrapped up?
You know, I think they're contenders right now, at least to be competitive in a series like this. Because one thing that needs to be pointed out about this Nationals team, yes, they're 3 games under 500 right now, but you have to remember they started the season 1-6, and they also had a 7-game losing streak to begin the month of May. So when you put those things together and see when the Nationals have actually played consistent baseball, where they haven't gone on these insane lulls that they did in early May and the early part of the season, they've played good baseball overall. They've beat some really quality opponents as they have the past couple of weeks. And I think the Nationals have proven that offensively, on some of their best nights, they can compete. They can score runs. And even with the bullpen having issues throughout the early part of the year, that's gotten a lot better over the past 3 years. Ever since the departures of Colin Poche and Lucas Sims, I think the arms have been formidable for this Nationals team. They've kept them in a couple of games. You have your rotation that has provided you a pretty good amount of stability. It could be a little bit better because there's been some shaky spots from Williams and then Parker, of course. But I think Irvin and Gore have really impressed, because Mackenzie Gore has looked like the ace that this organization hoped he would be when they traded for him back in 2022. And I think the Nationals overall, when you just put, you know, in a microscopic lens here with how their season has been, I think overall they have been better than the past couple of years for sure. They have a lot more talent. They play with that same kind of grit and scrap that they have the past couple of years. And that's where we got the name the Scrappy Nats in 2023 or whatever it was, where They were kind of squeaking out series against some good teams, winning some tight games down the end. That's kind of who the Nationals are under Davey Martinez. That's a common thing for them. Now they just actually have the talent that's necessary to be in a position to win a lot more of these games, and that's what we've seen. I think they're going to continue to play at the pace they have and, be just a little bit above 500. They're not perfect yet. They're not an elite team, I would say, by any means at this point. But I think right now they are certainly at their best since they really started this rebuild, and we're starting to see the pieces come together.
Yeah, like it feels as if, and I should have prefaced it with this, but like when I mean contender, I'm not talking about like your 2019, where I'm not talking about a World Series at this point, but like a contender as if this team is going to be in the wild card conversation. Like this team can make some noise down as we get into the summer months here in baseball. And I do think that, like, I do genuinely think that this Nationals team could be a contender. And if you look at the numbers, like, again, you kind of mentioned it there, the bullpen as of recent, we were talking about this bullpen up until early portions of May being one of the worst bullpens that we have ever seen to start a season. It was no joke. They were dead last in bullpen ERA. They were one of the last teams as far as whip goes out of the bullpen, and their starters were putting up crazy good numbers, and they were actually a pretty solid starting rotation. Now, since then, the bullpen has been one of the better bullpens in the National League over the past month or so. In the starting rotation, it's kind of regressed back to the mean here, but I do believe that this rotation is pretty good. So yeah, to answer my own question here, I think the Nationals will establish themselves as contenders. And I think this Cubs series, you're at Nationals Park, Cubs fans are going to be there. The juice is going to be there. It's going to be a beautiful few days here in DC. It's going to be sunny and like mid 70s tonight. The ballpark should be packed on a Tuesday night. And this is going to be one of those things that I think Nationals fans, this is what you have been waiting for. You have been waiting for a big series with a big team coming to town. And tonight is when you can finally put all these young guys. We've talked about Robert Hassel III. We've talked about Dalen Lyle. You've talked about CJ Abrams, who was an all-star this past year. And a guy we haven't even mentioned yet, who is the best player on this team, is James Wood. James Wood is coming into his own. Josh Bell this past week has been one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball. Hit multiple home runs against the Mariners, carried it on against the Diamondbacks, had really hot games there over the last week or so plus. Davey Martinez has said it himself. Like, if Josh Bell gets going, this thing does turn around. And while I don't think it's just because of Josh Bell, I think I look at really quality starts. I look at just totally breakouts on offense from multiple different guys over the past few days here. But Josh Bell, since he has been a quality major league hitter, this Nationals offense has taken off. So I think there is some truth in that little talk that David Martinez has given time and time again here. And right now, with James Wood hitting the way that he is, Josh Bell hitting the way that he is, you'd like to see Garcia Jr. kind of step up a little bit and Abrams kind of get out of the funk that he's been in over the last 2 weeks or so. But with where the Nationals are, I'm buying in. This is the time, man. And I'm really excited for this series tonight, getting going against the Cubs. But Ben, what just kind of makes you confident, though, that the Nationals will turn this thing around and that this is the series? Like, what is one thing that you have looked at over the past week or so and say, I can believe in the Nationals because of this reason?
The offense, for sure. When I came on your podcast the first time back in, I think it was February. So we were about a month out from the regular season, and we discussed expectations for this Nationals team in 2025. And you asked for my prediction. I said, I think they'll be competitive for a wild card spot, winning around 80 to 85 games. And the way they played the past month, that looks like that is very much a possibility right now, and that stems because of how they've been offensively. They have guys right now who are young, but they look like big leaguers. Everybody has fit the part so far. You watch Robert Hassel on Friday out in the desert work a 10-pitch at bat in the first inning and then single up the middle to bring in 2 runs. And I know that game got crazy from there. The Nats end up winning at 9-7. But we've seen some of these young guys, even Lyle included, in the outfield and as a base runner. They've looked beyond their years. They look like guys that have been in the major leagues for a couple months and not a couple weeks. And that's been the biggest thing with this Nationals team. You have your pieces in James Wood, who we knew was going to be a superstar player this year. I don't think that was any secret to anybody here in Washington or in Major League Baseball. But then other guys have stepped up in a big way. I put Josh Bell in that equation early in the year because I didn't expect him to be as bad as he was through the first couple months of the season. But the past couple of weeks have shown a sign that when he does give the offense life with some pop in his bat, because I think he's up to 9 homers right now or something like that. I don't have the exact number on me. But if he's a guy that can consistently give you some pop in his bat and just get on base every now and again, his OPS was in the 500s for quite some time, which was completely unacceptable. And I understand the frustration from Nationals fans. But if he can continue to hit the ball the way he did last weekend, that is a very big extra piece in the middle of your lineup that gives you some more protection for one of your other power hitters in James Wood, because I feel like that's been the craziest thing about how Wood has played. He's done it without really that much protection in the lineup. You know, you start to wonder, our pitcher's not even going to pitch to this guy because of how good he's been with his bat. But if Bell can slot in as a cleanup hitter and serve his role and actually hit the ball well for this team like they expected to when they signed him this offseason, that adds a new dynamic to this offense. And I think the offense has improved. The at-bats have gotten more quality for them overall, and I think it's going to continue to get better.
Yeah, I think this offense, again, you kind of said it best there. Like, I think the bullpen just playing as well or pitching as well as they have over the last month or so, and really seeing these young guys like Cole Henry has been dominant out of the bullpen. I think Jackson Rutledge, as of recent, he's gotten rocked around a little bit, but I've overall really liked what I've seen if I look at it from a 30,000-foot viewpoint here. And I think a lot of the Nationals guys like Jose Ferrer, I mean, he's had some struggles this season early on, but I do think that this guy's very talented. He'll be a very good pitcher for the Nationals for hopefully years to come. And I think Kyle Finnegan has done really well as the Nats closer as well. But also a guy, Andrew Chafin, he's not a young guy, mid-30s. He's bounced around to plenty different major league teams over the years. And Andrew Chafin has come in and has looked really good for this Nats team. So this bullpen, and as you mentioned, the offense kind of starting to turn things around. This is why I'm kind of buying in to where the Nationals are, because if you see consistency from the Nats offense, and if you have a pretty steady bullpen, the Nationals would be well above 500 at this point. And I think we all understand that. So now you're starting to see both those things, and all of a sudden they're starting to pile up wins, and that's why they had a winning month in May. But Ben, we've talked a lot about this series and how big it is. Let's get into some pitching matchups, get into some predictions for this Cubs series. But before that, I got to tell everybody about some of my very good friends over at Monarch Money. And of course, I have told you guys all about Monarch Money in the past. And do you ever just check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go between dining out and online shopping and entertainment? It's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. I've noticed recently here, so living in Arlington, I'm a young guy. I like to order food out. Monarch Money has actually given me some helpful insights to say, you've been spending too much money on going out. Why don't you save this money? And now, with that in mind, I can now budget smarter and save even more. And instead of juggling all those apps, I have it all on one with Monarch Money. Again, it is my personal CFO. I can have everything right there and see where I'm spending the most and where I'm spending the less and where I have some money to play with. And that is why Monarch Money is my personal CFO. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Now we jump back into it with my guy, Ben Strober, the new Locked On Wizards host. So again, if you haven't done so already, go over to Locked On Wizards, hit that subscriber button. You can get Ben will be on the show starting this Monday, I believe, right, Ben?
That's right.
That's right. So you'll see Ben and his co-host over there on Locked On Wizards. It'll be a fun one to tune into. So make sure you check them out in a little bit. But now let's get into this Cubs-Nats series here, Ben. Unfortunately, tonight, the Nationals have actually got a really tough pitching matchup. They're going up against
Yeah.
one of the younger studs for the Cubs, Cade Horton. He was a first-round pick a few years ago at the University of Oklahoma. He's made 3 starts this season. He has sub-4 ERA, but forget the ERA. This guy's nasty. And unfortunately for the Nationals, this is the more unfortunate thing. You got Trevor Williams in the bump tonight. Trevor Williams coming off his best start of the season, in my opinion. I mean, he actually looked really good in 6 innings, only got 3 hits, didn't walk anybody, and looked really good against the Mariners, in which was a pretty surprising performance. But is he going to have that back-to-back start kind of juice? Is Trevor Williams going to come into his own similar to the way that Anibal Sanchez did back in 2019? I'm not going to bet on that, Ben. I don't know. Maybe I'm a jerk.
It's just weird with Trevor Williams because this team signed him to a 2-year deal because before his injury last year, he was locked. I think he was 6-0 to start through his first 8 starts or something like that. Last year, the injury kind of derailed him. But he was a similar pitcher in his style. He didn't have the velocity there. That hasn't been a thing in his arsenal for a few years now. But Anibal Sanchez, that's such a good comparison that you make because he was a guy when he was here in Washington, late in his career, of course, could not throw the same way he did back when he was in Detroit. But he found ways to mix in his off speed and locate his pitches really well. He had that butterfly changeup that was just masterful for him. Williams needs to find some way to replicate that kind of success. Find a way. I don't know. I don't know what the best way he could do it, but to mix in a pitch where he doesn't have to rely on his velocity, because if he's throwing his fastball 87 down the middle, I think we've seen this year what's going to happen in those results. But maybe last week was a sign of some adjustments that he made out there in Seattle, because I was surprised to see him go 6 scoreless against a really tough Mariners lineup. And there's the flashes from Williams. His off-speed stuff, when he really does have it going and he locates it well, he can be effective. I'm not sure if it's going to be sustainable for him going forward, but you got him every 5 days at this point in your Nats rotation. And I don't know what the status of Cade Cavalli is. I think we got an update on him that he's pretty close to getting back, but I would not be surprised if Williams still is in the rotation when Cavalli's back, and you might see Mitchell Parker go back to Rochester. That'll be an interesting discussion when we come to it, but it's a really compelling pitching matchup tonight with Horton for sure, because he only made his debut under a month ago now, and none of these Nationals hitters in the lineup have faced him before, so that's always a new challenge for these hitters. I'm really looking forward to it though, because Horton has looked really good in the 3 starts that he's had in the big leagues. You just have to hope that Williams can give you some quality innings here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it there best, Ben. And like Trevor Williams, and I think this is kind of a storyline that over the last week or so, because the Nationals have been playing really good baseball. Then obviously this time last week, Ken Rosenthal slammed the Washington Nationals. So that was a big talking point. But as you kind of mentioned here, Trevor Williams and Mitchell Parker, someone's going to lose out their job eventually to Cade Cavalli. He's going to be ready hopefully within the next few weeks. I think the Nationals, they want to see Cade up in the bigs. It seems as if Cade could be ready to make that jump here soon. And he's not going to be a bullpen piece. They still believe in Cavalli. They have stuck by his side over the last few seasons. He's been recovering from Tommy John. And it feels like now is the time for Cavalli finally to make his jump to the bigs. And will it be Trevor Williams going down? Will it be Trevor Williams going to the bullpen? Could it be Mitchell Parker being optioned? We don't know at this point, because I think that's still a very open conversation. And in my opinion, I think the Nationals, this is again just my opinion, I think they're just kind of waiting to see someone pitch their way out of their job, whether it be Trevor Williams or it be Mitchell Parker. And I think the Nats right now, Trevor Williams, obviously you can't option him down to the minors. I think it's probably going to be Mitchell Parker, and Cavalli will come up eventually here, but I don't know. It's a good, fair discussion. But real quick, man, what's your prediction for tonight?
Tonight, I think if the Nationals are going to win this series, this is the one that they probably drop, given the pitching matchup tonight. And not to say I don't have confidence in this Nationals offense to get it going against a young pitcher in Horton, because, maybe this guy is due for maybe his first really rough outing in the big leagues, the way the Nationals have been swinging the bats. But I'm just not sure with how potent the Cubs offense is that Williams is going to be able to contain them well enough for the Nationals to do damage early on in this game and get the bullpen into position with the lead. I think the Nationals win this series, but actually drop it tonight.
That's kind of what I'm feeling too now, because tomorrow you've got Mackenzie Gore. Feel really good about that. And then on Tuesday or on Thursday, you've got Jake Irvin. Feel really good about that. So I think as you kind of nailed it, like tonight, you never know. This Nats offense, like if the Nats are going to win, the Nats are going to have to put up like 7 runs. And they could easily do that, as we've seen the last week. The Nats offense has been on fire. So yeah, I mean, I do think the Nationals win this series, but as you mentioned, something's going to have to give. I don't think you're going to sweep the Cubs. The Cubs are a great team right now, one of the best teams in Major League Baseball, in my opinion, one of the deeper rosters in the National League, and I think it's going to be a tough series. But Ben, always fun one to have you on the show, man.
Thanks, Clary. Appreciate it, man.
Of course, and you guys can now catch Ben Strober over on Locked On Wizards starting this Monday. It's going to be a fun one. The Wizards, they've got a lot to talk about moving forward here, and they're in the thick of this rebuild, but they got some talent. So the Wizards, it'll be a fun watch, you guys. Make sure to tune in to Locked On Wizards. But till then, stay tuned in to Locked On Nationals. We're in season. The Nats have been pretty damn good. So I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.